For a big show like Bridgerton, the audition process is definitely something you would find fascinating as you get to know how every one of the main cast landed their roles and what they did to get it perfectly right. The first procedure for the actors auditioning for a project like Bridgerton is that they aren't allowed to know the show's official name until it's been finalized. And for Bridgerton, many of the cast had no clue but knew it was a Shondaland production. And Luke Thompson was also in the dark when he was auditioning for Benedict. But that doesn't mean he wasn't prepared. During his audition, Luke was made to read for 2 scenes, which he recorded in a tape and sent to the casting director Kelly Valentine Hendry. He was mainly made to read the scene between himself and Eloise having a conversation on the swing. After sending in the tapes for his audition, Luke met the assistant casting director Cole Edwards to read for another role. And surprisingly to Luke, that was all he needed to do before landing a role in Bridgerton. According to the actor, he got a call in 4 weeks from his agent bearing the good news.
They'd like to offer you the part of Benedict in Bridgerton. And again, it's sort of strange.
This audition process still surprises Luke as he thought it would be more complex and require a lot of script reading before he got the part. The thing is, Luke's past experiences hadn't been rosy, as he sent hundreds of tapes and had about 3% success in landing the roles after that. Luckily, Luke had already conquered stage acting before making it big in Bridgerton. He had spent 10 years in the theater and won a few awards before finally featuring in a popular TV show. Luke has acted in many Shakespeare plays and has been a significant part of the West End theater. One thing that gives him an advantage in script reading and auditioning is that he quickly learns his lines. The actor said, "Learning lines is more accessible on the move. I'll be walking down the street and run into someone while reciting at full throttle." So this technique made the casting directors realize he could portray Benedict in the Regency era in a way modern viewers would enjoy. But that's not the only skill Luke has. Born in Southampton, Luke lived most of his life in France, which means speaking French is another upper hand he has during auditions, as being bilingual is a big deal in the film industry. And Luke doesn't just know how to speak, he also has the perfect accent.
80% attitude, les bruits, tout ça, le mot.
Now, getting the role is one thing. Preparing for the character of Benedict was another crazy experience Luke had to put himself through to fit into the show. And these preparations are all different for the cast. However, Luke started by studying some materials on the Regency era before making his preparations more physical. As the show advanced to a second season, Luke began to work more with his trainer to get his physique more attractive. Funnily enough, this training also made his bottom scenes look even better. It's no longer news that Benedict is one of the wild Bridgerton brothers with plenty of lady friends in the show, with whom he sometimes gets steamy, so being fit was necessary. The actor added more reasons he needed to work on his body, saying, "Well, just all those sorts of scenes. You're in a romance show, so it's part of the deal." So it was challenging to become Benedict Bridgerton, as Luke had to go through different workout routines like squatting and lunges. He was so dedicated to this that he became pale while at it and almost threw up. Preparing for Benedict was so crazy that Luke said he preferred being an ordinary actor to working out to be super attractive. Aside from the problematic aspect of preparing for the role, Bridgerton has a thing for an easy audition process, and Simone Ashley also went through a delightful experience to land her role. For Simone, she didn't even need to do much before making an impression on the casting directors. So, while she was working on the set of Sex Education, her agency made her know that Bridgerton's casting team was considering her for a role in the show, which made her send in her audition tapes reading a few lines. And 2 weeks after that, Simone got another call congratulating her on winning the part of a female lead in season 2.
I get a call saying, "It's kind of secret, you can't tell anyone, but you've got the role."
But then, since she was told the casting news was still a secret, she had to keep it low. At the time, everyone was talking about Bridgerton 1, and her co-stars on that set were also discussing it, but she had to pretend she knew nothing about what would happen next not to ruin the surprise. Things moved on pretty fast from there. In about 10 days of getting the role, Simone started preparing to portray Kate. She met with Jonathan Bailey, who plays Anthony, for their chemistry chemistry reading, and it was also very successful. Soon after, she met all the executives working at Bridgerton, including Shonda Rhimes, and everyone could see Kate through her. However, unlike Luke, who went through hard workout sessions to portray Benedict, Simone had things relatively easy as she instantly connected with Jonathan. Simone's role as Kate was mainly about bringing out the realistic romantic energy shared between herself and Anthony, and her sisterly love for Edwina despite her feelings. Although Simone and Jonathan were strangers to each other, they made it work instantly. Simone said, "There was no real time to hang out, but we managed to sneak off for a drink together one day when we were filming on location. We've always had each other's backs from the start. It's a partnership." Luckily for them both, they had a crazy chemistry that could be felt on set, which made Simone settle quickly into her character. Also, many new cast members would have felt intimidated joining an already set up show, such as Bridgerton as the main lead of season 2, but Simone didn't let that stand in her way. In her words, she already knew how to deal with such pressure. Regarding Kate's other responsibility as a sister, Simone only had a little time to catch up with Charitra Chandran as they were filming during the COVID restrictions. But then they got to share the same makeup truck on set, and even though they had limited conversations, Simone was able to observe Charitra and learn more about her, which worked out well. Simone said watching Charitra prepared her to play the role of a big sister and also get to admire her strength. Also, both Simone and Charitra originate from South India. They also got to share the same accent coach, and their shared culture helped Simone step up as Kate did for Edwina in the show. Funnily enough, Nicola Coughlan also had it easy to become Penelope during her audition process, as she needed only one audition. So during the process, Nicola met with the casting director's assistant to do her reading instead of sending in a tape like others did. However, even though Nicola thought she did an excellent job, she became worried because she knew it was for a big show. The actress said, "But I knew it was a Shondaland show for Netflix and thought this is going to be months of auditions. It's going to be so protracted and terrifying. You'll meet the execs, get to the table read, and then get fired." You hear all these horror stories, so I certainly didn't expect anything from that first audition. With Nicola thinking the audition process would take a long and stressful journey, she was shocked to discover she had been given the role 2 weeks after her first audition, and the news was undoubtedly too good to be true for her. Nicola was made to know that her character, Penelope, will have a love interest, Colin, and the actress was very interested in knowing who would portray her lover in the show. To become introduced to her story and prepare for her role, Nicola went to get Romancing Mr. Bridgerton and read it. Later on, she started asking questions about who would play Colin, and there was a mix-up at first with her thinking it was Luke Thompson, so she started researching him. However, she was corrected and told Luke had been cast to play Benedict while Luke Newton, who was in Disney, would be portraying Colin. And again, Nicola took to Instagram to search for Newton and sent him a DM, and their friendship started even before they got on the set of Bridgerton. The actress was so excited to meet Newton that she even told him a spoiler that she's Lady Whistledown, which Newton was surprised to hear because, unlike Nicola, he hadn't read the Bridgerton books. Nicola also added that she didn't want to think much of the future while preparing for her role when she said, "It was weird to think, God, one day I might be doing this really intense romantic season with him. It's hard to fathom it, but at that point, we didn't know if that was ever going to happen." Nicola said she didn't want to raise her hopes because only the first season was greenlighted then, and she had no idea if it would ever get to her part. Interestingly, Nicola didn't have to prepare much for their spicy roles because she had enough time to become very friendly with Newton. But that wasn't all Nicola did to prepare for her Bridgerton role. While filming for Bridgerton, Nicola was also on the set of another show, Big Mood, which made it a very stressful experience for her. To cope with fitting into 2 different roles around the same time, Nicola decided to take her mental health seriously by going to the gym and attending therapy once a week. She also made sure to settle into her role as Penelope by taking a relaxation day where she would get a massage. She explained how she coped with the stress that comes with Penelope, saying, "I was like, self-care is what I need to invest my money and my time in because it's so demanding to shoot something like that. And I was like, if I'm not in the best state I can be, it will drain me out. It's draining anyhow. Although Nicola had a straightforward audition despite the stress that came with it later, Newton initially auditioned to play the Duke of Hastings, which is surprising. By now, Bridgerton viewers can't see the actor differently from Colin, whom he plays, and Bridgerton could have taken a different path if he got cast for the role of the Duke of Hastings after applying. Unfortunately for Newton, the role later went to Regé-Jean Page. Luke narrated how that later turned around for him, saying, "Eventually they said they thought I was more suited to Colin. I came out of the audition and felt I'd done everything possible. Then I got the call and they said I'd been booked." Newton wasn't too disappointed when he couldn't get Simon's role, as he fell in love with Colin as soon as he read the script. After reading what Colin was all about, Newton hoped that the casting directors wouldn't change their minds as the role stuck out to him. And luckily for Newton and the fans, he had no issues with holding on to Colin, as it would have been weird if that part had gone to another actor. Like many past audition processes, Luke also had an easy one because he didn't even need to do a second reading before they were convinced he would do just fine as Colin. And after he got cast, he immediately connected with Nicola, which helped the chemistry between their characters. Also, Newton didn't have to work too hard on that because conversing with Nicola was natural and exciting. As they started preparing to film, they would get tea breaks together, practice their lines, and chat, and they quickly developed their friendship from there and insisted on having their makeup done next to each other for even more perfect bonding. Funnily enough, Newton started feeling pressured when season 3 approached, as he needed even more preparations for his unique season with Penelope. And he decided to go to Jonathan, who helped him settle into his main character's vibe. From season 2, Newton paid more attention to how Jonathan played his role as the lead and sought out his advice, which is very obvious in how Newton nailed his role in Poland's season. But the crazy thing about auditioning for a show like Bridgerton is that an actor might want a role and get another part entirely. So it wasn't only Colin who wished to play the role of Simon. Jonathan Bailey also applied to play the character. However, he was already being considered to portray the Duke of Hastings before meeting with the production company and former showrunner Chris Van Dusen, where they spoke on different interesting topics. And when they were done, they told him to consider Anthony instead because he sounded like a good fit for the role. So they sent him some scripts to familiarize him with Anthony, which Jonathan was happy to do. The actor said, "Ultimately, it's really exciting when you're told the character you should be thinking about, because no one wants to go and see Hamlet played by someone who wants to play Hamlet. They saw something in me and they were like, go on, you can do it." All Jonathan had to do was prepare for the love triangle in which his character is involved, and he made sure to connect with Simone and Charithra about it. To get into his failed romantic persona with Edwina, Jonathan first made friends with Charithra by sending her a good luck DM via Instagram. That message was uplifting for Charithra, who initially auditioned to play Kate, and it also helped their chemistry reading preparation for their scenes. It was a different case for Simone, as Jonathan knew he had to connect with Kate, especially for their intense love story. Simone and Jonathan had 2 chemistry readings, one when they first met and another in episode 4 at the Aubrey Hall's library. If you couldn't imagine anyone else playing the Duke of Hastings, as we have in our other video about actors that could get recast for the role, then you definitely would find it strange to know that Golda Ross-Shuval, who plays Queen Charlotte, also auditioned for a different role at first. So like Newton and Jonathan, Golda read for Lady Danbury, which would have been insane and changed how the show turned out if she had gotten it. Golda said, "I first auditioned for Lady Danbury, but it went to the marvelous Adjoa Ando, who is a dear friend. But then it took a different turn," according to Golda.
"I got a call to say, can you do a tape for this role called Queen Charlotte?" And it was just before Christmas that this was all going on. And I was leaving the next day to go and spend Christmas in France.
Golda's wife, Shireen Mullah, helped her film the audition tape, which lasted between 30 to 45 minutes. And what's even more exciting is that she sent in the first tape because it was easy for her to read. And a few weeks later, Golda had already received the good news.
Week between Christmas and New Year, I got a phone call saying the director loves it. your tape's going to go to Shonda Rhimes.
For Claudia Jessie, who plays Eloise, her audition process was pretty simple too, and it's such a good thing for the cast as Claudia revealed that auditioning for the show is the best she has ever had since the start of her career. The actress still remembers the exact date her career took a different turn with Bridgerton, which was on the 4th of April 2019. Like Nicola, Claudia also had her audition with the casting director, Cole. She said the audition process was easy, fun, and enjoyable. However, due to previous terrible experiences while awaiting feedback, Claudia decided to let go of the show or anything that could remind her she had recently auditioned and move on with her life. Shortly after that, Claudia got a call that she had landed her Bridgerton role, which was very quick and surprising. Then, to prepare for the role, the actress began reading the books to learn more about her character and the story. Also, she worked extra hard at learning her lines and mastering the art on set. As a woman in her 30s, Claudia realized she had to bring up some childishness to portray the 17-year-old Eloise correctly, and ever since she got her role, Claudia hasn't stopped appreciating everyone who made it possible. Even when she returned to the show for season 2, the actress shed tears after trying out her gorgeous costumes, saying she felt privileged to wear the outfits. Although most Bridgerton cast got their roles quickly and on the first try, Hannah Dodd had to try harder. Before season 1 was released, Hannah Dodd auditioned for Bridgerton but didn't make it after getting to the final round. Sadly for her, the show was a hit and Hannah returned to her part-time cleaning job. But her story finally turned around after she learned she could join the series as Francesca for season 3 after the former actress for the role, Ruby Stokes, went ahead to lead another show. She couldn't quite believe it the first time she saw the set of Bridgerton. The actress said, "I felt like a competition winner being taken around the set. I thought I'd stepped into my TV screen." Also, it took a while before Hannah could get introduced to other Bridgerton cast because many of them weren't present when her first scene was shot. The first person Hannah became close to on set was Claudia, which was natural since their characters are sisters in the show. They bonded well while preparing at 4 a.m. to do their hair and makeup. Then, Hannah became close to Newton too, as the two got competitive over their dancing choreographies, and Hannah knew she was in the right place. Also, Francesca has some intense, steamy scenes, and she started preparing for that from day one with a spicy act coordinator because the fans started warning her about them as soon as she got the role. Interestingly, Hannah's life has changed since she became Francesca, as she got a little flat in Southeast London, but preparing for her Bridgerton role has messed up her regular schedule. According to Hannah, landing the Francesca role has taken most of her time as she barely had the time to settle into her new flat with no curtains, her TV still on the floor, and no table to take her coffee. But it's all been worth it because it's Bridgerton. Bridgerton was relaxed with the audition process because they had a straightforward list of people they wanted before handing it over to the casting director. The list says they needed the best actors and actresses, not big names familiar to everyone. So the casting director, Kelly, started looking into theaters and had a lot of opportunities to pick the right choices rather than being limited to famous names. Since this casting happened, Bridgerton has made the cast into those big names and it doesn't get any better.